Greetings and salutations to all of you lovely, fluffy, non-fluffy, normie, equally lovely listeners out there. How are you? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. I call this the Rogue episode because I know that I missed last week, at least I think I did, for uploading an episode, and I'm going to be completely transparent with you all. I can't remember the last day that I uploaded an episode, and also realized that the last episode that I uploaded was episode 50, so yay, we are 50 episodes of the KittyFoxCast. Can you believe that? I made no mention of it in the last episode, so I'm acknowledging it now. We are 50 episodes officially of this podcast, which I think is fantastic. I can't believe that it's been that long already. And other than the impromptu hiatus that came about like sometime last year with the podcast, it was always good intent. There was always good intent behind said episodes and this whole thing as a project, because I don't really see this as a priority, and that sounds kind of weird. I don't want to prioritize this and make it a like, oh, I have to get an episode out, otherwise fill in the blank. This podcast, and I was thinking about this today and over the past week, this podcast is not meant to be a profitable endeavor. It's not meant to be something that is supposed to like garner a large audience. It's not something that I'm expecting will quote unquote take off or anything. This right here is a method for me to talk real with you. And in a lot of ways, it is a therapy for me and hopefully for you as well, in some ways, to experience. I like to think of this in a weird sense of it's like an audio journal. You know, I like to tell you things that are on my mind. I like to give you quotes, and I like to give you perspectives, tell stories. You know, this is a way not only for me to express, you know, what's on my mind, what I'm feeling, and just kind of get things out of my head, but also I hope that this is a way for me and you to connect. Like, that's my ultimate goal. Is I want this podcast to be a way to connect with those who view my videos, and whether it's over here on the main channel or any other social media that I post on regularly. I really want to bring down that barrier. You know, I don't expect that, and I mentioned this before, I don't expect that I will be able to meet all of you in person. And as the years go on, and as, you know, the numbers tend to go up and all that, I can only realistically, in a lifetime, meet a select handful of you in comparison. Like right now, we are, you know, we're closer to 6,000 subscribers on the main channel, which is amazing. And I will never, ever take that for granted. But I think the reason I do this is because I want to connect with you. And, you know, not only is it an outlet, but it's a way that it's like, you know, it's like you and I are sitting down and having a conversation together. Because I know that that won't be possible for every single person that follows me or subscribes or whatever. And I want this to be an experience for those who I don't get to meet. And, you know, I want to consider it a gift. I want to consider it something as beautiful and, you know, as intimate as it can be. Even though it is very one-sided, it's me just talking into a microphone while I'm laying on the couch. But, you know, I hope in a way it does bring that sort of connection that I'm looking for with you. And, you know, like some of you who are listening have had the opportunity to meet me and hang out and stuff. But to those of you who have not yet, I hope that we can one day. I'm definitely holding out hope on that. Like, I want to meet you, and I want to see you in person and get to talk with you in person. Um, but I think this podcast is a way to do that as well. So yeah, that's one thing that's been on my mind lately. Is like this is a good therapeutic bridge, as it were, for us to have a connection together and just have a conversation. So let's have a conversation, you and me, right now. So one of the things I want to talk about happened this past weekend, and it was probably one of the most intense things I've ever done in terms of travel, and also one of the most impromptu things I've ever done. So let me explain for you. So this past weekend, I went to Furrydelphia, and this con experience was one that I had like no other I've had before. And you may be thinking, well, what's the big deal? It's Philadelphia. What's so special about that? Well, the the reality of it was a few factors. I wasn't even sure that I wanted to go until the day that I left. I basically had to do what's called the effort adjustment, right? It's when you say just, screw it, I'm just going to do it, right? And, or if you want to go a little more Gen Z, you can say, we ball, right? There was a we ball moment of, let's just do it, because if I don't, I'm going to regret it. So, literally, the day that I left was the day that I decided to go, which was this past Saturday. I even woke up on Saturday and I was like, I don't know about this. I really don't know if I want to do this because Philadelphia, from where I live, is about a 6.5 hour drive. And if I get there, even if I leave today, I'm going to get there in the afternoon, and that gives me maybe a solid 2 days to enjoy the con, which isn't a very long time in the grand scheme of convention attendance. Normally, it's 3 to 4 days for a convention, if five if you're lucky. But in this case, I only had two to work with. So, but I told myself I was literally packing the day of, and because I woke up thinking, I don't know if I want to do this. And then I was, logic and reasoning kind of seeped into my doubt, and I said, look, let's just pack and let's just see how we feel. So that's what I did. I got up fairly early on Saturday and I was packing. And as I was packing and getting stuff ready, the more excited I got and the more dedicated I felt and the more motivation I had to go. And by the time I was done, I'm like, all right, well, I'm ready and I think we're going to do this. So we're going to do it. Because ultimately, my decision that really drove me was if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it later. And the main thing that I would say the like main thing that drove me to do it was the fact that I just want to live. I want to live. Like, you can't always play the cautious card. You can't always be careful. I mean, being careful is good, being cautious is good to an extent, but sometimes you got to take risks. Sometimes you have to jump in full force. Sometimes you have to make that decision that is a split second or impromptu or just, on the fly. And then when you do make that decision, you realize, I'm glad I did that. So that was my understanding was if I don't do this, I'm going to wish that I did later. And as painful and long as the drive was, honestly, it was one of the best and most like I said, intense. But and I'll get to why it was intense in a moment. But it was the most just it was like it induced a lot of dopamine and a lot of adrenaline and like what am I doing um so I made the drive on Saturday, very last minute. I ended up having to get into one of the overflow hotels, which was about 2 blocks from the convention, on a 10-minute walk, so to speak. And the reason for that, and by the way, me saying this, I do not fault anyone for this. It is just purely out of chance and out of the circumstances that played through. I attempted to, excuse me, I attempted to make contact with a number of individuals that I knew who were going to this convention and was looking for a room space. I was looking for a spot to, just crash for a couple days. Friday to Sunday or Saturday to Sunday, it didn't matter to me, just as long as I had room space. And every single person that I contacted either said they couldn't accommodate me, or they probably could, but they'd have to check with their roommates, and all the logistics, like, ultimately fell through. So from there, I had to make a decision. Okay, I need to, out of my own interest and out of my own safety, I need to secure a room, because I am not going to sleep in my car in a parking deck in the middle of Philadelphia. That is not happening. So I considered that as an option, but I was like, that is just not smart. So I need to make a blanket for myself, and I need to make, a decision of safety. And I decided, though it was inconvenient, mind you, as inconvenient as it was, to book a overflow hotel room down the street. So let me just paint this picture for you. I got the hotel room 3 blocks away, at the Courtyard Marriott, which was, like I said, about a 10, maybe 15-minute walk, depending on the route you take. And you have to understand that this is in the middle, like the heart of downtown Philly. And Philly has this weird reputation, and I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it's just like because of news stories, crime rates, whatever you want to call it. Any factor that you want to include or plug into it. Philly seems to have this odd reputation of being just either unsafe or weird or sketchy, or you name the stereotype, and you've probably heard it before, right? But that can also be said, and to those of you listening, think about the sketchiest city in your state or your country or your province or your county, wherever you are living right now. Think about the sketchiest or most dangerous place in your surrounding area. Essentially, that was the vibe that I got from other people when I told them that I was going to Philly. And I had my own reservations about Philly before. And that being said, I've never been to Philly before, so it's a new city. I wasn't sure what to really expect. But I will tell you, talking to the locals, the people who actually are from there, the people who are, currently living there or who have moved there, they all told me what I needed to hear, and that was the fact that there are certain parts of the city that are not safe compared to others. So in this case, the convention is located in the heart of downtown Philadelphia, and it is, in fact, in a safer area. It is, in fact, in a more, like, statistically, I guess, statistically speaking, it's in a lower crime rate area, if you want to call it crime or sketchiness, right? So that was a blessing. Right there is a lesson. When in doubt, go to the source. And in this case, I went to the source of information, which was the residents of the city, right? So that put me at ease. And before I get into the fun of Furrydelphia, I want to talk about the intensity that I experienced while I was there. So, inconvenient hotel room location, 15-minute walk, not bad. Okay, I will take it, anything at this point. And I was sort of mulling over the fact that it was Saturday night and I wanted to enjoy the festivities of the con, right? The raves and parties and that kind of thing. Just hanging out and enjoying the con, as it were, and as it is. And my decision in that moment on Saturday night was I was going to wear my pet suit, which, definition, in case any of you are unfamiliar, my pet suit is basically a skin-tight spandex version of my fursuit, right? So hugs to your skin. It's made of lycra, and it's got the persona markings on it, like, the hand paws, the feet paws, the, fox stripes and that kind of thing. So it looks, it's fairly revealing, we'll say. And I went with that and a pair of boxer briefs as my outfit for Saturday night because, that was kind of the vibe of the night and I was feeling it. So, like I said earlier, sometimes you have to take risks. And let me tell you, I took a risk that night that I will never forget about. I opted to walk to the venue from my hotel room, and then after the festivities and all the events and stuff, walk back the same route much later in the night, wearing my pet suit, my boxer briefs, my fursuit head, and my collar that has a jingling bell on it. So I was making all kinds of noise and attracting all kinds of attention with walking, right? Just by walking, right? I don't know what came over me. I'm not sure what made me decide to do that. I'm still unclear as to my impromptu decision making on that. But basically, you have to picture me, Kitty Fox, wearing my fursuit head, my jingly collar, my pet suit, and my boxer briefs, carrying a bag back to my hotel that was roughly 3 blocks away from the venue at one point at 11 p.m. and then at the next point around 2:30 in the morning. Um, excuse me. It still makes me laugh. Why I decided to do that? Because yeah, you're in the heart of downtown Philly, walking down the street by yourself at night, wearing this outfit. If I'm going to be fully honest, that was not smart. Okay? Do as I say, not as I do, right? I don't advise anybody to do what I did. Please don't. If you're going to be in an unfamiliar city at night, please have a chaperone, be safe, be smart about your decisions. But in my case, I didn't really have a choice because I had an overflow hotel and I had to walk back to my hotel room. And yeah, so take precautions, like walk with a group if you can. Ask somebody to chaperone you. Take an Uber if you can, just a little safer. Whatever you have to do to be safe. Okay, in that time, I will admit I did not make the smartest decision. In fact, it was fairly stupid. Okay, I'm thankful to say that nothing happened. I did not get any harassment. I didn't get any trouble. There were no injuries. I was not tailed or followed. I didn't even get any comments from any of the locals that were just kind of hanging around late at night in the area because I passed by a number of people and any of them could have been anybody, right? But I'm thankful to say I was safe. I made it back okay. I made it safely to my hotel room. I promptly locked the door and deadbolted it, and I went to sleep and woke up the next day 100% unscathed. So I am grateful to God for that, and I'm grateful that nothing became of that situation. Again, I don't advise that you do something of that nature because it is not smart. So please be safe when you are in an unfamiliar area, especially when you don't know the, well, I don't want to say cultures, but when you don't know the customs, I guess, and you don't know exactly what type of individuals are roaming the streets at 2 in the morning. Okay. So that was intense. That was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life. And I don't regret it, but at the same time, I could have done a lot better to avoid any potential threats. Um, that being said, I had probably the most amount of adrenaline I've ever had in my life when I got back to my room. It took me a while to get to sleep because I just had to calm down. Like I was so just my alertness. So you know how when you're in a situation where your alertness is like off the charts, like high, not really anxiety, but you're just like wary, right? Even though I was in my fursuit, in my pet suit, my alertness was, I felt like I could feel like the air like hitting every part of my body. I felt like I could just, hear every little noise. I could see everything, even though I was completely, like, I was mostly blind in my fursuit head, right? And, like, every fiber of my being was on high, red hot alert. Okay? I didn't know I could even get that far into alertness, but even when you're in a fursuit, you can have high alertness. So that's good to know for survival tactics. Okay, just remember that anytime you're in or potentially a risky situation, uh, trust your instincts. Listen to your gut. Okay. In this case, I did not listen to my gut, and I went with it anyway. I just went by my mind or my whatever told me to do that anyway. But anyway, that being said, please be safe. That is the ultimate, the ultimate message of this. Please be safe, because you do not want to put yourself in any risk if you can help it, right? Unless you're a thrill seeker and you know how to combat these things, sure, right? Totally, go for it. But just be safe about it. So that's something I'll never forget, and probably something I will not do again. So yes, just take this as advice. Be careful, please, especially if you're in an unfamiliar location. Furrydelphia in general was great. I got to fursuit. I got to see some friends. I got to meet some new ones. I met some of you at the con, which was great. I got to get some pictures. I got some video. Although my GoPro unfortunately crapped out the second day. I'm not sure what it was, but it would not turn on. So I think one of my batteries is shot. Hopefully that's the case. Because I'd be very sad if I ended up the thing did not work anymore. But good news is I have a warranty on it, so we're still good there. If it is broken, I'm not sure. But yeah, I got some video. I had probably the best Guinness I've ever had in my life. It was freshly poured, room temperature glass, because that's how you have to do it, right? I had some amazing egg rolls from the bar, and oh gosh, probably just an absolutely delicious breakfast sandwich from the hotel. And to top it all off, I went to Wawa. Now, we all know about the Wawa Sheets debate. Okay, if you're from the East Coast, you are aware, or somewhat aware, of the Wawa versus Sheets debate, because they're essentially the same type of place. Like, let's be honest. They're a gas station, they have food, and they have amenities that for the traveler. And for some people, it's a cultural icon in the particular areas, right? So, where I'm from, we have Sheets, and Sheets are everywhere. You can go get gas, you can get some food, you can, get your alcohol fixes, that kind of thing. And for Wawa, it's essentially the same thing, just in the further East Coast. Like, we're talking Philadelphia, New England, Jersey, New York, like that whole area over there. So they have Wawa. And for years, there has been a debate about which is better. This is like Xbox versus PlayStation back in the day, if you all remember that debate. Oh yeah, that was a big thing. So I went. I went to Wawa. And I'm going to be completely honest with you all, and I'm speaking as unbiased as I can, because I went in there I had to put aside my bias, and I had to experience Wawa for what it was. Like, not through a comparison lens, not through any sort of, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not through any sort of preconceived notion as to what it would be. I had to go in there as if I were experiencing it for the first time, and I did. So I got a standard order, something I would normally get at Sheets. I got a meatball sub, and I got a macaroni and cheese bowl. And I also got a cold brew coffee with some cold foam sweet cream, I believe it was. The food was, unfortunately, in my opinion, mid. It was mid at best, because the meatball sub did not have enough sauce, and it was small in comparison. Again, not trying to compare, like, I'm just, I was taking it for the first time. But again, you can't help but compare something to something else when you're enjoying something for the first time, right? So the meatball sub, if I have to if I have to give it a rating, I would give it probably B tier at most, or B. I'll give it a I'll give it a very low B plus. Okay. There wasn't enough. There wasn't half as much sauce as I needed. The thing itself was fairly small, and the quality of it was that of Subway. I don't hate Subway, but I've had better subs than Subway. Let's put it that way. It was very close. Slightly better, but it was very close to Subway quality. The macaroni and cheese, unfortunately, and I have to say this honestly, was the generic GFS, meaning Gordon Food Services, or bulk food service, that you get from restaurants, right? Sometimes you'll see those trucks, driving around. They'll say like U.S. Foods or Gordon Food Services, or whatever foods. Essentially, those companies that you see at restaurants, pull into restaurants, they sell things in bulk. So they will sell like macaroni and cheese or noodles or like meats or produce in bulk, and they will sell them to the restaurants that are in your area. So they were like basically the food supplier of said restaurant. It was generic mac and cheese, and I could tell because I used to work in the restaurant industry. I was in the food industry for a little over 2 years, and I know that mac and cheese when I taste it. Like, that was bulk mac and cheese. That, for that reason, it was mid. So you could tell that it was like reheated mac and cheese, right? Sheets also has the same type of mac and cheese, but they throw a little bit more love in theirs. They like add extra cheese, and they'll put like extra shredded cheese on top. You can add bacon. You know what I mean? Like, you can modify it. In this case, I didn't see any modifiers for the mac and cheese, so mac and cheese was mid. But the number one redeeming quality for Wawa, in my case of going there for the first time, was in fact the cold brew. The cold brew was delicious. It was so good. I don't know what it was, but I just got a nitro cold brew with the sweet cream foam, and it was so good. Like, I didn't even get that much flavoring. It was a black based, and it was, I just added the foam on top, just a little touch. And oh my gosh, that coffee was delicious. Like, I don't know what Philadelphia does to their coffees, but holy crap, that was good. Also, the hotel coffee was pretty fantastic as well, I have to say. Um, so, yeah, the coffee S tier, 100%. That was what made everything just like, bump it up a few notches, right? So the coffee was like the redeeming quality of Wawa for me. So yeah, I enjoyed Wawa for the first time, and I'm still unfortunately Team Sheets. But maybe it's the fact that I haven't had Wawa enough. Maybe if I go back to the East Coast again, I will try a different location or try a different item. I was told I needed to get a certain item at Wawa to really appreciate it, so I'm going to try that item next. For those of you wondering, it is a chicken wrap. I think it's a wrap or it's a taco. I can't remember if it's a burrito or it's a wrap, chicken wrap. So, okay, chicken wrap next time I go to Wawa. Cool. So, the con itself, I got to meet Sciggles, which was awesome. And to those of you who don't know, Sciggles is the current owner of Furaffinity.com, or Furaffinity.net, as it were. And she took over when Dragoneer sadly passed away last year. Rest in peace, Dragoneer. We still miss you. But Sciggles had a Fur Affinity booth at Furrydelphia, which was insane. So I walk up and I'm like, wait a second. You guys are here? Like, there's the Fur Affinity team at their own booth at Furrydelphia. And I'm like, what the heck, guys? What's going on? So I met Sciggles' husband. I met I believe they had 2 kids running around there. And one of their staff members that was helping with the booth. And I was like, oh my gosh, is Sciggles here? And they're like, yeah, she's in the bathroom right now, but she'll be back. So I respectfully waited. I was like, is it okay if I chill and just because I want to meet her? And they're like, oh yeah, totally. So We waited, and Sciggles came back, and I gave her a big hug, and I said, "Oh my gosh, hi! Thank you for all the work that you do. You're amazing." Wow, like, yeah, it was so cool to meet her in person because I've not only is she the owner of Fur Affinity, but I've been following her for over 10 years now. Like, her art, her streams, her YouTube channel, all that stuff. Like, I've been following Sciggles for a long time. So if you want to follow her, I will put a link in the description if you want to check out her for Affinity page and her art. Go follow her, go buy her stuff because Lord knows that they need it right now, like with finances. So yeah, so that was one of the biggest highlights was meeting Sciggles in person. So shout out to you if you're listening, and thank you again, Sciggles, for the Fender plushie and all the stickers, and for your beautiful note that you sent when I bought Fender. So you're amazing. Keep doing what you do, and you running for Affinity. It's just means the world to us furries. So thank you for keeping that site alive and for making it continuing to make it what it is. It is home for furries. So that was one of the best highlights. Other than that, I did end up sort of crashing into one of my friends' rooms because some of their roommates left for the day. And I got to move my stuff in there. I got to fursuit some out. And that was really kind of them to open their room the very last day of the con and make sure that I was accommodated. So no more walking back and forth in a sketchy neighborhood, right? So I got to move my fursuit in there, and I got to suit up, and had some cuddles, and also I got to meet my friend Paymon, who I've been chatting with for a little over a year. So we got to link up, and we got to just spend some time together, and just chat and like get to know each other in person. So that's another highlight, was I got to meet her in person. And like, we've been talking for quite a while now, and like, when you talk to somebody for a long time, a year or more, and then you meet them in person, it is just such an experience. So getting to meet her was great. So shout out to you, Paymon. Love ya. Thank you for being an awesome friend, and I can't wait till I get to see you again. Speaking of longtime friends, the last highlight of for I just blanked on that. Furrydelphia. I'm sorry. I'm tired. It's like 1:30 in the morning right now. So, the last highlight for Furrydelphia was getting to meet a longtime friend. And when I say long time, 14 years. And I kid you not when I tell you, I have been talking to this individual for almost 14 years now. We met way back in 2011. I believe we met on YouTube. This was back when YouTube had a DM system, so you could send personal messages to people. Um, yeah, that kind of dates me a little bit, but yeah, we've been talking. Like, we started talking on YouTube, and then we moved to. I think we talked to each other on Skype at one point. Again, that dates me a little bit, and then we kind of lost touch for a little while, few years, and then we reconnected on Discord. So it was been like a sort of up and down in communication for the past decade or so. This person is from Philly. They are from downtown area, and I decided I'm gonna make an effort and I'm gonna go and see them. Unfortunately, they didn't make it to the con this year because they had some other stuff going on. But I decided that I'm going to take the jump and the leap, and I'm gonna go meet them in person, and that's exactly what I did. So once I finished at the con, got everything packed up and done. Things were kind of winding down at that point, and it was time to go. Not only that, I also had the 6.5 hour drive back home, right? So, but we connected. I made sure to let them know that I was coming. I was like, "Hey, can you just let me know if it's cool?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, totally." And we I went over to their place, and at first I thought that was a little too forward because I didn't want to be like intrusive or anything, but they were totally cool about it. They're like, "Yeah, please come over. Yeah, I would love to have you." So, let me tell you one thing. It was like a movie moment. And mind you, again, I've known this person for almost 14 years, like talking on the internet. So meeting in person can also be a little like nerve wracking because you're not really sure what to expect. But at the same time, it's just exhilarating and exciting, right? So I got to their neighborhood after like a 20-minute drive, and I parked my car, and we were. I called them and I was like, "Hey, I think I'm here. Can you just point yourself out to me? Like, which house is yours?" Because it was a weird like cul-de-sac kind of situation where you had to go behind the buildings, and yeah, it was a whole. I'm not going to describe their neighborhood too in depth, but yeah, it was a little confusing to say the least. But eventually, they walked over to where I was, and there was a moment where I'm standing probably 100 feet from them, and they're standing 100 feet from me, and we're on the phone talking, right? And they're like, "Okay, do you see me? I'm waving my hand." And then, sure enough, the person in front of me was waving their hand. I'm like, "Yep, I see you," and I waved my hand back. I was like, "Do you see me?" And he's like, "Yep." So we started walking towards each other, and this was on and like an honest to goodness like movie moment, right? It was like freaking like I don't even know how to describe it. It was just so like magical and also like um it was it was very it's very like stimulating too because I was like I don't know what to expect at this point. So we're walking towards each other and it was like you could hear like the montage music like happening like honestly just I could hear just like the drums and the da 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 like that, in my head, as we're walking towards each other. And then finally we get close enough to where we're making eye contact and we immediately just like we both put our arms out and went in for a huge hug. And we hugged for a long time. As a matter of fact, I think we both got a little teary eyed because this is the first time that we are meeting in person after 14 years of talking online. And I can't really describe it enough to say how special it was. Um, this person has been so supportive of me for all these years, and they've just been so sweet and kind and loving. And like, whenever I needed someone, they've always been there. And like, we've had beautiful conversations together, and like, I feel like we know each other so well at this point, and here we are after all this time finally meeting in person. And I'm not gonna lie, the magic in that moment of just pure love and joy, I cannot begin to describe to you how that felt. Like, honestly, we both got a little teary eyed. Like we were both like tearing up when we were in our each other's presence, and we didn't even know what to do with each other. Like we were both like shaking from nerves and just like, wow, I can't believe this is real. And here you are, you're in the flesh. It's you. Yes, it's me. And yeah, like it just, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. It was just so special, and I'll never forget that. I never will for the rest of my life. Like this person being like one of the best friends I've ever had, and just how long we waited and how much patience we've had to have over the years of trying to plan something, and sure enough, here we are in this moment together. Um, and I got to show them my suit, and they couldn't believe it. Like they couldn't believe that there's Samson Kitty Fox in the flesh, and I felt that way about them, just like being in the flesh. Like there's you. So you know, we we exchanged some really kind words and stories together. We sat and talked for a long time, and we got selfies together, pictures, and we were just being two friends, two good friends in that moment, just shooting the breeze, enjoying life together. And I got to give them one of my candy bracelets as a token of friendship, and I got them some stickers and a keychain from the con and stuff. And yeah, I can't really describe to you how it felt, just being in that moment and enjoying that time that we had together. So I want to give a big shout out to Shadow. Shadow, thank you for being an amazing friend. I'm glad that we got to finally link up after all this time, and I will never, ever take that moment for granted. And I cannot wait till we get to see each other again. I hope that I can fulfill my word and take you to Furrydelphia next year, at least for a day, even if it's for just a day, you know? So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for being an amazing friend and for sticking with me all these years. You know, I don't know how I don't know how one person can be so dedicated to a friendship, but you have proven in the utmost magic, not magic, but the utmost like respect and loyalty of humanity, you know, in the furry fandom. You've shown it to me in just a night. So you've you've definitely made it so special for me. So I want to thank you for that. So that was honestly one of the biggest highlights, if not the biggest highlight of this past weekend. And I still think of it as just a beautiful thing that, just, yeah, it was a really humbling experience, you know, getting to meet them in person. And I'll forever cherish that moment, that first meeting that we had. From there, it was about 9 p.m., and I knew I had to get home. So I packed up, said my goodbyes to Shadow, and after a number of long hugs left, it was time for me to go home. And I got in the car, teary-eyed. I left, and through a very bad storm on the turnpike back home, I got home about 4:30 in the morning back home. I'm just, thank God I got home safely and without a scratch. I was very tired, but, you know, I'm just glad I made it safe. I didn't fall asleep at the wheel or anything. You know, I had that amazing cold brew to get me through, you know, to get home. And, yeah, I got maybe a solid 3 hours of sleep before I had to get up for work. And you might be thinking, Samson, you're crazy. Why didn't you take the next day off? Well, I would have, but I have already submitted my vacation time for Megaplex, which is actually this weekend, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, that was not very smart to come home that late at night and then have to work the next day. So once again, chat, do as I say, not as I do. Please, okay, do not only heed my. Oops,
I'll take a in.
That was not supposed to happen. Sorry about that. You just heard my little power speaker there just go off. But anyway, do as I say, not as I do. Okay, just bear that in mind. So, between the long drive and getting to bed very late, the next day at work wasn't actually that bad. I got a proper power nap, as I've talked about before, but that really helped. One in the morning, one in the afternoon, got a nap, about 10 minutes each, and that got me through the day. So I am grateful that I had those opportunities for sleep. I ended up passing out pretty early on Monday. Well, technically, yeah. So technically, I ended up getting like I got a third nap. That's what happened. I got a third nap on Monday after I got home, and woof, man. Let me tell you, I couldn't believe it. Like I didn't know I could sleep that much. And I'm happy to say that I am fully caught up on sleep again, and only to be deprived of it again for this weekend, right? So this weekend, I will be at Megaplex. So if any of you are going to Megaplex in Orlando, Florida, I will see you there. Yay! Cannot wait. It is one of my favorite cons of all time, and I cannot wait to experience it for what it is. So, yeah, hopefully it's not too hot, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of you there. So, I'll see you then. I'll be leaving on Friday and coming back on Tuesday. So, um, yeah, I've been looking forward to this con all year, and it's one of my favorites. And I'm excited for this year's theme, which is Saturday morning cartoons. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I got a little bit of a list. There was a couple of things I wanted to mention before we sign off here. Oh, so tonight, one of the things I did was on Wednesdays I usually go see my parents. So I usually I go over to their house. I'll help them with some chores. I will do my own laundry or help with laundry or whatever needs done around the house. My parents are getting older, so they need some help, right? And one of the things my mom and I like to do is we watch movies. And I know I've mentioned this before, but we will pick a movie or a show and we'll just, spend a couple hours and just binge it, right? And tonight's movie that we decided to watch was Ordinary People, starring Donald Sutherland and Mary Tyler Moore. Let me tell you all listening right here, if you like a good psychological movie, if you like a good, like heartfelt, but also kind of at some points heavy and also but wholesome movie, I highly recommend Ordinary People. It is a great movie. It dives into the mind of a young adolescent who feels like he has to put on a front all the time. So he feels like he has to be like in control, he has to be perfect, he has to be personified as someone who has it all together, right? In a very stressful situation at home. I'm not going to spoil it, but I will tell you this. The movie does a fantastic job at portraying what it's like to grow up as a young adult. The kid is in high school, so in this case, he's a teen, young adult going into college age, but just basically highlights the struggles of being at home and growing up and having to deal with parents who are constantly having to prove something, or they feel like they have to put on a front themselves. And there's multiple scenes in the movie where he's going into therapy and he thinks it's a bad idea and he doesn't want to be, you know, like at first he doesn't want to be perceived as a broken person. But I'll just say this: the resolve of the movie is one of beauty. Like there was a lot of pain that came out of it, but at the end of the movie, you realize that he, in fact, embraces who he is. And that's all I'll say about it. I won't go any further into it, even though I want to, but I highly recommend Ordinary People. It is a fantastic film, and to any of you out there who are struggling or feel like you need to put on a front or a face for somebody else's sake, drop it. You don't need to do that. Like, what that movie taught me, and I've seen it before, but watching it again tonight, it reminded me that I'm not perfect, that I have flaws, and it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to drop my front. It's okay to let my guard down. It's okay to be seen as not okay by other people. It's okay to be vulnerable to the people that care about you the most. And for the most part, it's okay to forgive yourself for the past and anything that you may have struggled with in the past. So, again, if you're struggling out there, if you feel like you need to put on a front all the time or you feel like you need to be perfect, watch that movie and it will change your perspective, hopefully, about yourself and how you see other people as well. So, it's Ordinary People. It's a movie that came out in the 80s, I believe, but it is so good. It's not dated at all. Like there's no like old science, that may be a little cringy, but you know, let me just say the moments that were so special were the moments where he was like figuring himself out. And for that matter, it got me thinking. And I'm going to be real with you all, like I said I would. Once again, I am honestly going to go into therapy. And this is not a decision that's light. It's something I've been thinking about for literal years. But I've decided, starting next month, I'm going to start going to therapy. And it's mostly because I have a lot of things that I need to work out myself. I need to talk about them. I need to get those things out. I need to work on myself and I need to do what's best in my own mind and my own heart. So, starting next month, when there's no cons, there's no chaos, and there's actually a lull in events, like there's no cons next month, I'm just gonna I'm gonna take my time. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna meet with a skilled professional in mental health, and we're going to talk. So that is my goal for September, everybody. You heard it here first. I'm going to therapy. Not because I'm forced to, not because, I have, not because I'm gonna try to say this as plainly as I can. Not because I am expected to, or like I said, being forced to, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I struggle. I have struggles, like we all do, and I really need to get them under control. I really need to make peace with some things in my own life, and I need to forgive myself for some things. And I think having an outsider's perspective is going to help. So, all that to say, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody if you need to, because there are probably a lot of underlying issues in your life that you don't even realize are there. And when you can get it out to somebody who you don't know and who has the skills and the tools to help you, it can do wonders. I fully believe in therapy. As you all know, I went to school for psychology. I have a degree in psychology. So it's like they say, there's a quote that I love out there. Doctors can be the worst patients because they feel like they don't need help, or they feel like they can help themselves. But sometimes you need help from somebody else. Don't be afraid to seek help if you need it. So that's what I'm going to do. I am seeking help because I know that I need it. And I know that it's going to turn out for the better if I do this. And on that note, I want to leave you all with a quote. It comes from a documentary that I watched while I was driving home, actually. Well, I didn't watch it, but I listened to it, okay? Do not watch videos and drive, okay? I did not do that. I want to put that plainly. If there's one stupid thing I did not do this weekend, it was watch a video while I was driving. Do not do that. I put it on, and I just listened to the audio, right? And it was actually a documentary about George Carlin. And I've mentioned him before. To those of you who don't know, George Carlin was a comedian. He's no longer with us. He passed away in 2008. But he, in my opinion, is one of the greatest philosophers of our generation. Though he was a comedian and a huge goofball and he was an entertainer, he had a lot of wisdom. Now, he had a lot of horrible things to say, of course. Like, if you listen to his comedy, you go, oof, that cuts deep. Yeah, he got to the core of a lot of issues, but I think in essence, he was indeed a philosopher. And he may not agree with that statement, but I fully believe that's what he was. And he has a quote that I heard in that documentary from his words, his own words. And he said it like this. This is from the documentary. He said, "You are truly yourself when you laugh." I'm going to say that again. George Carlin said, "You are truly yourself when you laugh." And he gave some examples. He said, when you see somebody laugh, you see inside their soul. You see what gets them to that point of joy and just beautiful, just euphoria, right? In that moment of laughter, you see everything that comes out in their emotions. You see it in their eyes, you see it in their action, you see it in their body language. That person is truly them 100% when they laugh. Think about something that makes you laugh. It could be a dumb meme, it could be a sitcom, it could be a moment that happened in your life. What makes you laugh? Think about it. I think about some things that make me laugh. And in my case, it's a lot of dry humor, right? I like dry humor. It's one of my things. And I like goofy sketch comedy, and I like stand-up comedians, and I like, comparative humor and real life, realistic situations, observational humor. And I am going to 100% agree with Mr. Carlin on this. I can think some of the best moments of my life that I was truly alive are the times that I was grinning from ear to ear and letting out a huge laugh, sometimes 2 tears. right? So I encourage you, listeners, laugh this week. Find something that makes you laugh. Watch something. Listen to something. Do something silly. Do something goofy. Be your unequivocally unapologetic self and just laugh. Find something that brings you joy. Find something that will bring you that grin from ear to ear. And just experience those moments of laughter and unmistakable euphoria and laugh. Because you are truly you in that moment when you laugh. And as always, my friends, remember the Latin phrase, sic parvis magna, greatness from small beginnings. Remember where you started and where you came from, those who brought you up, and those who continue to stand by you to this day. In my case, I saw it over this weekend. Those who stand by you to this day from the beginning. It was beautiful. And don't forget that there is greatness in every step of your journey, whether you find it or you create it. And on that, just remember, even though you have the smallest beginnings, there can be greatness from the start. Always be you, be yourself. Don't let anyone ever tell you who you can and can't be or what you can and can't do. That is for you to decide. The world needs you just as you are, because you cannot do what others do unless you do it yourself. You can only do the things that you can, the best that you can do them. Be unapologetically unwavering and 100% you, because no one else can. There's never been anyone like you. There will never be anyone like you, and there's no one like you right now. So, my friends, remember to laugh. And as always, thank you for all of your support and your love. I would not be here without any of you. I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for you. Through all of your love and support, and I am forever in your debt. If I could hug every single one of you, I would do it. And I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for me. This is the joy of my life, and I will do it for as long as I can. So until next time, this is Samson Kitty Fox. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being you. And thank you for laughing along with me. Bye-bye. Bye. Meow meow. Love you.